You are tuned in to another episode of Locker Room Podcast. That's Sam Pierce. I'm Jack Sullivan. Sam, we're going to make this a little bit better of an episode because what we saw last night was not great. If that was an episode of a championship, it was the lowest rated season you've ever seen. Georgia absolutely smoked TCU last night.
Yeah.
And a lot of components that we can get into this. It was, the Cinderella story made it to the final chapter of the storybook, and it didn't work out in their favor. The knight fell down to the dragon. The dragon slayed the knight. Whatever which way you want to say it, the Horned Frogs couldn't get it done. And it just wasn't a great football game for them, and it wasn't for the country to watch. It was tough. You felt bad for those Horned Frogs.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't. I'm a Longhorn fan, so no, I didn't. I didn't want any other team in Texas to win before we do. But it was an ass whooping from start to finish, and I expected Georgia to win by multiple scores. I expected the TCU to come out at least with a spark and play free because they have nothing to lose. There's nothing more dangerous in football than a team with nothing to lose. So I thought maybe Max Duggan could, get out of the pocket, do some things and hit some big plays. And he hit one big one. And that was it. I think the biggest surprise of it all was, all season we talked about how Georgia had to blitz to get pass rush outside of Jalen Carter. And their D-line just straight up dominated. I mean, they dominated TCU. It wasn't just Jalen Carter who played phenomenal and who will be a top 5 draft pick. They just straight up manhandled TCU's offensive line and made them give up. By the third quarter, TCU had given up. They knew. Their spirit had been completely broken. Their coaches had been completely broken. And I think the biggest component of this is they blew their whole load, against Michigan. When you have a month off to prepare for a team, you can put a lot in. You can go over every situation. You're going to come out as prepared as possible for situational football. But what happened is you do that, you have that emotion, you win that game, and then you got to go back a week later and play. And that's something that coaching staff had never done, those players had never done, and Georgia's players had just went through the year before. They were not prepared for the moment. Because that quick turnaround after a long break before the semifinal game, those are the things that can happen. And it was just a mismatch in all phases, man. And who would have thought that Stetson Bennett would be running the ball better than Max Duggan in the national championship? But that's something Georgia schemed up because as they were preparing for Ohio State, soon as that game was over, they were able to flip and put a whole bunch of stuff in for TCU. And that just comes from experience.
Yeah, the offense was way more prepared on the Georgia side. They had guys that were wide open. There should be no reason that guys should be that open on to start off a game for the touchdown. Like I know which one I'm talking about. There's no way that guy should be that open.
Awful. It's just busted coverages. But that's Georgia scheming it up. They knew what they'd come out in, and they had something prepared for.
I guess I'm curious to know what your thoughts on the comments by Kirby Smart when he was like, "We're going hunting." What did you think about that?
I love it. They asked him, they said, what do you want to see from your team tonight? He said, aggression. That's why Kirby is great in Georgia. Kirby don't try to change any of his players. And I think he learned this from Nick Saban because Nick Saban said this in the Bill Belichick sit-down that he learned from Belichick when in the NFL. He doesn't try to change them. He tries to coach them so that they're best able to succeed with their natural talents and their personality. Kirby recruits dogs. And that's no pun. That's not being funny. He recruits dogs. So he lets them be free. He wants them aggressive. He wants them attacking. He wants them to be bullies. And you can see it. And so when he said aggression and we're going hunting tonight, he knew. He knew that if his team came out with that mentality, TCU didn't stand a chance from the rip. And he knew that coaches can watch film and they can kind of get a feel on it. They can get a feel, hey, if we do this, that, and the third, we can run away with it. He knew. He said we're gonna come out hunting, and they're gonna put it to them boys early and just leave no doubt early. And they killed them. They killed them early.
It's interesting you say that because I'm watching as a viewer, and I guess that's just kind of the mentality that I always was like, I'm gonna give it 110%, whatever you want to call it. Like the way that he said it to me was like. I wasn't a fan of it. As a spectator, I was like, well, no, this is the spectator stuff. I was like, like, why did he have to say that? How come he couldn't just be like the modest coach? But now, like going
Right.
back but not going back and thinking about it, you're like, damn, if I was playing for him, I would have been. That's my guy.
What?
As a
Run through
viewer,
a
you're
wall
like,
for him.
wow, whatever, exactly. So I thought that was interesting hearing it from like a player's perspective, and also watching it from a viewer perspective. And then it comes together, and you're like, all right, like you kind of get like what he's going for. He's not trying to be like cocky. He's not trying to be this. He's trying to
No.
get his team going. Like
Yep.
it's not for him. It's not for he like the ego's not there. So
Yep.
it was very cool to kind of see that come together in that
It's
sense.
authentic. He's
Yeah,
authentic, and that's what makes it work. It's real. Like he's authentic.
yeah.
But Jack, I mean, Stetson Bennett, 18 for 25 for 304, 4 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing. I mean, good Lord. As Kirby said, he's the best Georgia player of all time. I mean,
Wait a minute. He
talent,
went 18 for 25.
18 for 25.
Listen, bro, how funny is that? That everyone's been talking about his age. You just said how long he was in college
25.
football from 18 to 25
18 to
years
25.
old, and now that's what he does in the college
Yeah.
championship. Book it. That's if you think stats don't actually come together like that, then man,
He's
that's funny as hell.
phenomenal. I mean, 18 for 25,
Yes.
304, 6 total touchdowns. No, he will not be an NFL quarterback. People, shut up. He is
No.
5'10". He's a great college quarterback. And, that's good. Now, they were talking about, if he went to the 49ers system. Well, if anybody goes to the 49ers system, they'll be all right. Okay, shut up. Not everybody's going to have Kyle Shanahan in a run-friendly, QB-friendly offense. But
Mhm.
Brock Bowers, it's a crime that him and Marvin Harrison have to wait another year. They be top 10 picks this year. But
It's insane.
Brock Bowers is generational. He's baby Gronk. He is baby Gronk. Kyle Pitts is a freak of nature. He's a Shannon Sharp hybrid, but even to maybe athletically to another level. Brock Bowers is baby Gronk. I see the blocking, the viciousness. When he gets the ball, he's just bumbling. You just can't tackle him. He's huge. And then they started throwing jump balls to him. I think next year that will be where he takes off. He's just going to be a jump ball machine. I think that's going to be his next step, to the point where you just can't guard him one-on-one the same way you couldn't guard Gronk one-on-one. He's a phenomenal tight end in all faith. He can run block. He can catch the ball. He runs really good routes. And Gronk was just big. He didn't really run great routes. I'll be honest. They were clunky routes, but he's Gronk. He actually runs crisp routes. I mean, oh my God. And they have McClunky, the big O, the big zero. They have all these good tight ends. I'm like, did Kirby just say I'm just going to grab the best tight ends from all over? Oh, man. I think, Jack, we got a dynasty. The Georgia dynasty is here.
It was even said on College Game Day, like beforehand, like for the pregame show, right in front of Nick Saban. Tony
Right in
Pollock
front of
was
Nick.
like, "Oh, he goes, they're taking over college football," and you can just kind of see the meme of the Curb Your Enthusiasm music coming in while panning in on Nick Saban. But you're not wrong, man.
It's the truth.
It's the dynasty of this offense. Stetson Bennett has been at the helm for a little bit, so I think we're gonna see who takes over and really takes it to that next level. And I'm excited for Georgia. I'm excited for what college football is going to be in the next up and coming years with the CFB expanding. Maybe we'll see more teams have an opportunity to get to the final. My only criticism is it might turn out to be like what last night's was. Somebody makes a Cinderella team and then gets to that point where it's like you're dog tired, you're exhausted, and then it's just the Georgia team takes over and wins. But I hope it's not the case. But I'm just looking at it, just those 2 games. TCU gave it everything they had against Michigan, like you said. And Georgia came back in the fourth quarter against Ohio State. But Georgia had more coming into this. The week off might have been like, I don't know, but it just didn't seem like TCU showed up. But I'm hoping that if you go to an 8 or 12, whatever it is, that teams aren't too tired by the end, and then a game like that happens.
Well, that's multifaceted. One, I think they need to take a game or 2 off of the regular season schedule. I think it's unreasonable to ask to play that amount of extra games. It takes a toll. That they're not NFL players; they are still college football players. And number 2, I don't think that can happen. Not in a national championship, because there's 12. Because the top 4 conference champions get a bye, and then they let the others play out. Now, they may be a Cinderella run to the second round, but then that's when boots will meet asses, and I think that will be the end of that because that Cinderella team would have to go against the number one Georgia earlier. So no, thank God we won't have to see it in a national championship, but there will be a blowout, and we've seen blowouts in the semifinals. It's not like it hasn't happened.
Like Notre Dame and Alabama, that
Yeah,
kind of
I mean
situation.
Notre Dame against anybody really good.
Relax, come
right.
on,
Y'all haven't beat anybody.
on.
Y'all, y'all don't play anybody in the regular season. Y'all have a good record, and then you lose to somebody elite. We know the script. That's why Brian Kelly left, because you need guys. You ain't winning with all them brainiacs. you ain't winning with all them 4.0s, man. You need to. You know what a GPA it takes to get into Bama? It's like 2.3. That's why Brian LSU too. They're big public schools. Hey man, we need some stupid folks who like 6'5", 350. Like, you're not getting those guys. But I think the committee did miss by making it 12 teams. I thought 8 was the perfect number. I thought 8, it did not need to be more than 8. I thought 8 was perfect. But they want to go 12. They want more money. They want more revenue. They want more games. I'm curious to see how they do the layoff because they have that big break before the semifinals. So now it's not going to be that big break. So what is it? How are they going to do that? There's a lot of questions that stand to be answered. But Jack, I love me some college football, and I think we're headed in the right direction because although Georgia is a dynasty back-to-back, first time since 2010 Alabama team, there's still a lot of parity in college football. TCU proved in Sonny Dykes' first season that, hey man, you can do it. Don't make excuses. Don't moan and complain. You can do it. If you put it all together and go out there and compete and play a tough schedule, you can do it.
Yeah, and Deion Sanders was there last night going, man, I want to get here. You want to get there. I wonder if he will.
12 teams he will be. You want USC and UCLA are leaving the Pac-12. Who's there, Jack? Everybody else can be beat. I think USC could also be beat. I mean, Utah and other teams, but Prime's going to have those recruits and have those players humming that by year 2 or 3, he can win the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind.
No, without a doubt.
And then he's in, just like that.
Way too early a prediction. I think Oregon State comes out of the Pac-12.
I disagree. I think next year is USC. There's still a man by Caleb Williams, and he's not going to blow a hammy in the Pac-12 title game.
Let's hope not. I'm just you never know what'll happen. I like the Oregon State's. I like their defense. I like their grittiness. They were a quarterback away, and then I'm not saying DJ's the answer. Don't get me wrong. But I think
I don't believe in him.
I guess we'll find out. A lot of, like, sneaky moves already that happened. Just like transfer portal wise.
Yeah.
Notre Dame got Sam Hartman. I don't know if you heard that, Sam. They got a true quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do with that.
He's a very good quarterback. I love me some Marcus Freeman. I don't like Notre Dame, but I love Marcus Freeman. Mm-hmm. So I have to root for you guys at least a little bit. And the job that he did after starting out so rough it just shows how good of a coach that he truly is. He's phenomenal. Yeah, but Jack, transitioning to NFL, ooh-wee. Lot to talk about, but we got to look forward a little bit because it is Tuesday. We're going into Wednesday. Jack, the playoff matchups are set. And Jack, I think we got some very, very intriguing matchups. We got some washes, but we got some very intriguing matchups. I think first place, I'm gonna go Cowboys Buccaneers. Cowboys are going home round 1.
No question.
I'm gonna tell you why. I don't think the Bucs are any good. I think they'll lose whoever the next game is to, but the Cowboys outside of Trayvon Diggs just simply cannot cover. And they can't rush the passer outside of Micah Parsons. And that's not going to be enough to beat Brady. And that Buccaneers defense is humming. And I think the stinker that the Cowboys offense just put up, I think that's a sign of things to come. I think the Buccaneers are going to dirty this game up. It'll be low scoring. And we know the script, Jack. Tom Brady's going to have the ball with a minute and change left, and he's going to win it. And I see it coming. I see it happening. And I think the Cowboys are going home.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and go back on my answer when I said, a couple episodes ago that the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. I'll stick to that thing. If I'm right or wrong, if I'm right or wrong, whatever. Maybe they'll come into their own. I will stick to being wrong. It's okay.
As a Giants fan, I'm appalled that you said that. But go
on. Well, no. I'm. Here's the thing: is like I'm not going to be like, oh, who's going to win? Who's going to win? Like I don't want to be that person. I will say like I will go back and say I was wrong. If that's what I'm trying to say is, looking back, you're like, all right, maybe did you have to say that and hit the showers? Probably not, but you probably pulled that out of your ass, and now we're in this position. You're like, wow, you really want to change your answer.
Happens.
Cowboys stink.
Yes.
In Brady in the playoffs is a whole different animal. Their defense, like you said, is coming together. And their next opponent, who it probably will be the 49ers, their defense is just way too good against either team. So whoever comes out of that matchup would have to probably play the 49ers in the next round and then get smacked. 49ers playing for another national NFC title. And it's just ridiculous to me that these guys are so dominant on the defensive end. And then going down the bracket a little bit, I feel like the Giants get that little bit of revenge against the Vikings. It's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yes.
I think the Giants come away with it in that low-scoring affair. I think Kirk Cousins chokes. The run game is not going to be there. The Giants are too hefty up front with Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. Those guys are going to be unbelievable. The offense still kind of sketchy to me. Kenny Galladay got a touchdown.
Oh, Lord.
Dude, I'm not saying that's hope. He is a bum. The Giants win that low-scoring affair. The Eagles in the next round off a bye. They didn't look fantastic against like no one on the Giants playing. So I'm not going to take it off of that.
It was a reserve game plan.
Yeah,
they weren't going to risk Hurts. They didn't want to show too much.
So I think the Eagles have no problem with that one either. And then we have an Eagles 49ers title game. So I think and then the AFC, this is where I think the matchups are going to be insane. The Jags come all the way back from having a horrible record to winning their division.
I think they're going to beat the Chargers. Just going to say it. I do.
That's crazy.
And you want to know why?
I would love to know why.
They have the better coach. Brandon Staley's not a good coach.
That's not.
He's not.
You're not.
I'm just going to come out and say
for me.
He's just not a good coach. Dougie P has been there, done that. Dougie P has gone into the playoffs with a backup quarterback and say, "All right, we got it." He instills belief in his team. He had them believing, even when their record was down, that they could do it. And man, the Jaguars can beat you in different ways. They can beat you in a low-scoring game. They can shoot it out with you because they got the golden boy at quarterback. And they're a year ahead of schedule. And like I said, what I thought would be TCU, I think the same would be true by the Jaguars. They got nothing to lose and they're playing free. They went from the worst to the first. They're playing free. They have nothing to lose because they're a year ahead of schedule and they're probably not even supposed to be here. And I see it coming. Mike Williams a little banged up. Joey Bosa's banged up because you play starters in a meaningless game. Brandon Staley loses this game, and I think he loses his job after.
Job things, I feel like I think that would be a year ahead of schedule. I feel like
he don't want to play a game. He's out of there.
That's interesting you say that.
And Sean Payton's their head coach.
Whoa. You don't think he'll get the Denver job?
He would take it, but if the Chargers job opens up, he's taking the Chargers job. But don't sleep on the Arizona job as well. That is a fantastic job, and they have no GM now, so he could have control, which he wants. Yeah. So there's a lot to go with that, but I do think that's going to be the most interesting game in the AFC. I think the Ravens are getting that butt whipped. I think the Dolphins, of course, are going to get that butt whipped. I think those games won't have but so much parity in my eyes.
That's a Jacksonville Jaguars Kansas City Chiefs matchup is very intriguing in the second round.
It is. Chiefs will win, but it's gonna be a good game, I
think. That's so intriguing to me. Wow, to think about. So Sam, I feel like we gotta get into our favorite segment while we're in the NFL right now. So
do it.
AYO, what the?
Sam, you and I have the same AYO, and this is very rare that this ever happens.
Yes.
But we're gonna stick in the AFC South. What are the Texans doing? Why are you going all out in the last game of the year? And why? And now the Bears have
no
the first
problem with
pick.
that. No problem with that. Professionals play, but awfully run organization.
Horrible. I mean, listen. Guys want to play football. That's great. I love that. The fact that they had the first pick for all this time. I don't know what the Bears are going to do with that pick. They would lose their guy. Like they would lose Bryce.
That aspect of it doesn't really concern me as far as the pick, because I actually love that Lovie Smith went out there and played to win, because they probably told him he was going to be out of there. It was reports that they had a meeting with ownership that he was going to be out of there. So yeah, I'm going to go out there and win it. We're going to go out there and compete and win the game. I have no problem with that, because if the Bears get the number one pick, they aren't taking a quarterback. So
they're probably just going to get it anyway.
Yeah, you're still going to get your guy anyway. Bears aren't taking a quarterback. I think the Bears might even be open to trading back if somebody gives up a haul who really likes one of these quarterbacks. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of nuance, but to fire two coaches back-to-back years, both minority, both 1 year in, I think that's just an awful look on the NFL. That's an awful look on the organization, and quite frankly, I don't think any coach would really want to coach there. Why would you? And I can see if you're like, okay, we're just going to be losing, we're going to tank a little bit. Fine, whatever. That's been done before. The Browns have done it. But you leave the same guy. If that's the case, leave David Culley for 2 years. Don't bring David Culley, fire him, then bring Lovie Smith in and fire him. They keep getting desperate black coaches because we know we aren't going to get the opportunity, and then they fire him, and they give him a bad rap. That's a bad look on the league, man. That shouldn't even be allowed. Like there should be some type of fine for what they're doing. It's egregious, it's wrong, and it's nasty. And I hope no D'Amico Ryans, no black coach of any substance should even go near that job. Stay as a coordinator, because it's not going to help your career. It's disgusting. I'm done with the Texans. The Texans are poverty.
Yeah, they need an overhaul from ownership down.
Yes.
It's horribly run. It's a horrible situation to go into. They're setting black coaches up to fail. They're setting anybody up to fail, but mostly black coaches because of resumes, just what we've seen the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. It really pisses me off, because that's a team that when you had J.J. Watt on your team, you had Clowney on your team at the same time. Deshaun Watson, he did that to himself. D-Hop. There's a reason these guys are leaving. You got to connect the dots here a little bit, NFL. You got to figure out, hey, let's try to see what's going on in Houston, right? Just because they're always a little bit of the bottom of the barrel team the past couple of years doesn't mean you got to push them aside. There's something wrong going on over there. They have to figure out the situation that they could help them get in. Because if Bryce Young goes there and his career is ruined, that sucks for the young man, because he is a baller. Right. He is a team-first guy. He is grown up in the Saban organization, in that system, and that's a guy that wants to come into the NFL and win right now. It could be the same thing for CJ Stroud. That's not an argument for, whatever it is, like whoever the first pick is. But my thing is, don't bring a young man and all this talent into Houston just for their careers to fall off. And then if they go somewhere else, succeed, and then blame, it just makes their organization look bad. D-Hop's doing very well with Cardinals. Same thing with J.J. Watt. He had a pretty successful career while he was in Houston, and when he went elsewhere, he's still
JJ. Happy farewell
great career,
JJ. First ballot. The best to ever do it.
Watson's a different story, because he didn't play football for a year, and then he just comes into an organization halfway through the year and he stinks, and he's just doesn't look good. That's a whole different agenda.
I wouldn't say he totally stinks. I would say it's difficult to not play for 2 years and then come mid-season with the team you haven't practiced with, and I think he's actually looked fairly decent, and there'll be a 12-1 team next year easily.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. He didn't play for 2 years. And he comes in, and it's difficult to make that transition, as you said. The Texans are an AO what the F fully. This is an organization. They have their own segments. They probably have their own guys in there. They have a booth, and they go, "Hey, old man, what's up with this?" Every day.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And you know what, Zach? I don't want to understand it. So let's transition us to some NBA, because I'm done with the Texans.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm done.
Because I'm done with them. Jack, I want to get into something I like to call contender or pretender. I'm going to tell you a team, and we're going to decide whether they're contenders or pretenders.
I'm with you.
And when I say contenders, that's contending for a championship. Not contending for a decent playoff run, contending for to having that chance to win a championship.
Yep.
New Orleans Pelicans, contender or pretender?
It's all dependent. It's all dependent on his health, on Zion's health.
It's a hammy. That's hammies happen.
I'm gonna
He's been healthy this year.
right now I'm gonna say pretender. Right now. I'm gonna say
disagree.
I'm gonna say right now in 2022, 2023, pretender.
I'm gonna go with contender. I'm going. That team is deep. Herb Jones is a phenomenal defender. Zion has been dominant this year. This is his first time really missing some time, and it's a hammy, so I'm not too concerned because hammies happen all over the league. Those soft tissue injuries, just the nature of the sport. As long as it's not a knee or a foot or anything like that, I'm okay. Brandon Ingram is phenomenal. I got him as legit contenders. Okay, I got to go on for you. Cleveland Cavaliers.
Contender.
I agree. Contender.
Contender. No question.
And they're good, man.
They're so dangerous.
Phenomenal.
Here's the thing is anything could happen in that Eastern Conference, and I've said this before, anything can go out of there, right? Mm-hmm. It's the small little things at each position that really bring this team together. I think they're well coached. I think they have really good chemistry on this team. They have length, which is huge to contend in the East. Because you got to play against Giannis in the playoffs. You got to play against Durant in the playoffs. I'm not saying Evan Mobley's going to lock. I'm not going to say they're going to lock up any particular person because stars are going to get their buckets. Guys are going to get theirs. But they're just good, man. They're a fun team to watch. They are led by a guy who has a chip on his shoulder, Dwayne Wade mentality. Every time he goes out there, I go out there. Donovan Mitchell's a great basketball player. Darius Garland's an all-star.
Yes.
Karis LeVert is a good role player. Jared Allen is an all-star center. In the sense
shouldn't be, but yes, he should.
He has an all-star, but he's there. But he brings a lot to his team. Kevin Love has championship experience. I'm not saying Kevin Love is the Kevin Love that was there when LeBron was there, but Kevin Love has an experience. He understands what it takes. He can be like, hey guys, this is the veteran leadership, the rah-rah guy. You have those veteran guys on that team. So they're dangerous, very dangerous team.
I agree. Definitely in agreement. Definitely a contender. Los Angeles Lakers.
No.
Even if fully healthy. They just won, 4 or 5 in a row?
It's tough because LeBron's still there, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, if LeBron's there, your team could do anything, right? But I just say no. Because in the playoffs, you have to have an identity on who you are. Do you still, do the Lakers have an identity other than going on these runs and then not going on run? They're so streaky. I don't know their identity. And is it maybe NBA analysts know their identity and just the general public of sports fans know what it is or don't know what it is? Because I don't know what their identity is. They win their games different ways every time. It's not, they win from going from defense to offense. Oh, they win because their 3-point shooting is great. It's always different. So I don't know what their identity is. So I'm going to say pretender today. I'm going to say pretender today.
I'm going to say pretender too, only just because it's so health dependent. But what I will say is this: nobody wants to see them in a 7-game series fully healthy. They're dangerous. You don't want to see LeBron, AD, and company in a 7-game series. But I do think they're pretenders. I'll give you one last one, Jack. Brooklyn Nets.
Oh, they're contenders. Easy.
Easy.
They are one of the.
I got them as contenders. They are here.
They're
here. Good coaching goes a long way, and I think they're here. They are contenders, and nobody wants to. Bucks don't want to see them. I hope the Bucks have to face them, and my Celtics don't. I'm telling you, nobody wants to see them because Kevin Durant's playing like a man possessed. I know he's out a month with a little knee strain, but that's okay because they need some guys to step up and keep their rhythm going. TJ Warren is back. Royce O'Neal. I really, they're legit contenders. They're legit contenders.
Yeah, you said it last week. They're coming, and they are so loaded with talent. Kyrie Irving's playing out of his mind. He's not playing afraid. Nope. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what's going on. He's just playing ball, and that's how it should be. Yep. And then just the players that they have around him is what you should have. You have shooters, Patty Mills, Joe Harris. You got shooters. You don't want an Abe.
Yep.
And then, like you said, Katie's hurt, but it's a opportunity for guys like Royce O'Neal and TJ Warren to show what they have, to show that they came from starters on other teams to now they can really shoot the ball and they can play.
Yes,
so I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the Nets can do. It's getting fun in the NBA. You're seeing a lot of these
Very
teams
fun.
that have been contenders. Maybe they going to scaling down the pretender, but now it could be the other way around too. Are the pretenders finally getting to that contention spot? It's just a lot of fun to see, because once we get closer to the playoffs, we're really going to see who really steps up in each conference.
I agree. I think this is, again, back-to-back years, as much parity as we've had in the NBA in a long time, and I think it's just wide open. You can make a case that there's at least 6 teams, maybe 8, that are legit contenders, and I think that's just phenomenal for the league. It's time for one of my favorite segments. Cue it.
It's time for Hit the Showers on the Locker Room Podcast.
Jack, I guess I'll go first.
Hit the showers.
I know what your hit the showers is. I'm very it's one that everybody's ready to talk about. I think this is one people need to talk about as well. I think Lamar Jackson has played his last snap for the Baltimore Ravens, or at least I hope he has. This organization that has been known to be such a well put together organization and well run organization has made a mess of this. You're a guy that's won an MVP, can't get paid, can't get the money that he has earned. I think that's ridiculous. And then you kind of want to pressure him to come back from a PCL injury, which is a legit injury, and try to have him come back in the playoffs. I saw what happened to RG3 when he came back on a bad leg before he got his money, and his career was never the same. If I'm Lamar, I'm not touching that field. And if honestly, I really do think he's played his last snap. I think this is I think it's time. It's time to separate and part ways. And maybe this is me selfishly because I want him in the Jets uniform, but that's okay even if he's not. I think he deserves better in this situation. Greg Roman is a terrible offensive coordinator and should not be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. He's awful. I mean, he is legit awful. They're not doing right by him. They still have not gotten him a number 1 receiver. I don't think they're not putting him in a position to succeed. And I think it's time for him to go. And I think that he has played his last snap for the Baltimore Ravens.
Interesting you say that. I said like mid-season that he's going to be a Jet. I just have a weird.
Your
I didn't want
mouth
to jinx
God's
it.
ears.
I don't want to jinx it for you. I think he becomes a Jet.
Blank check.
It just exactly
blank.
He'll pay
check.
Exactly. And that was it. The other team I had was the Dolphins. That could have been an interesting landing spot for him. But that was even like last year that he could have been a Dolphin. Could you imagine him in a Mike McDaniel offense?
I don't want to see Lamar with Tyreek Hill. He's going to win another MVP.
Yeah. That'd be insane. Here's my hit the showers final thoughts. Just watching the game on Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers coming off the field after a loss to the Detroit Lions. Jameson Williams of the Lions went up to him, asked him for his jersey. He said, "I think I'm going to keep this one." Probably his last game at Lambeau Field as a Green Bay Packer. Whether he retires or his new team, I think it's time for Aaron Rodgers to do it. We've been talking about this situation for 2 years. I feel like every offseason is a new season for Aaron Rodgers to say, "All right, I'm coming back," or "I'm not coming back. I'm going to, I'm thinking about retiring, but I'm not going to retire." I think he's hit a point where a lot of things are out of his hands now. The team hear me out. The team had a lot of mistakes that weren't his fault, but he also, and then that kind of irritates him, right? But there was also times where things were his fault and he just couldn't get over it. So I think he's at this point where he said, I had a good career. I had a lot of personal achievements, and the team I'm at right now is just probably not it. So it would be okay if I hung it up with my guy, Randall Cobb, who has been beside me since day one. Yes, he's been to other teams, but he came back. Storybook ending, kind of a thing for him. It wasn't a happy ending. It was a storybook ending in the sense of like, all this time you had one chance and you just couldn't do it, but you're going to walk off with your best friend. And I think that's a good way to do it. If that was me and I'm Aaron Rodgers, I would walk off with Randall Cobb and say, that's it, man. You and me till the end. That's it. It might be an unpopular opinion, but that's the way that I'm going to see it out.
Firmly disagree. I don't think he's done. I do understand your take, and you're not alone in that take. You know, a lot of people think that people got to understand in football games, oh man, there's so much emotion, especially as you get older. We saw this with Drew Brees the last 3 years of his career. He never committed immediately at the press conference after losing. Tom Brady never commits or not commits, except after he won the Super Bowl because he was feeling great, of course. But that's just kind of how it goes. He's going to at least play another year. And yes, it will be with the Packers. They cannot trade him because the cap hit would be $90 million. So that anybody who thinks he's not going to, if he's going to play but not in Green Bay, it's not going to happen. It will. If it would happen, it would be after next year, but I don't think it will. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to be better next year, which is why I think he will come back. They're going to add a veteran receiver, another receiver in some sort of way. Christian Watson emerged at the end of the season. Rashawn Gary will be back, their best pass rusher. They got to shore up that O-line just a little bit outside of Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins, who they have on one side. They're going to go get a right tackle because that right tackle was Swiss cheese against the Detroit Lions that last game. And I think they'll be fine. They got the running backs. They got the ingredients. I truly think the Packers will be back next year, and I think so will Aaron. But I'm not mad at your take. I get it. There's so much emotion, and it's like you go from playing a football game. It's like a sugar crash. It's an emotional crash. Everything is taken out of you. You just lost. Your feelings are hurt, and that's why he's just very. And Aaron's dramatic. Let's be honest. He likes it a little bit. He's a dramatic guy, but I don't think he's going to drag this out. I think he's going to let everybody know in about a month or so. I'll be back. Don't worry about it. He didn't sign this just to leave. He's not going to leave not in the playoffs. He doesn't mind leaving on a loss, but it'll be in the playoffs. I don't think it will be that.
Aaron Rodgers walked out with Randall Cobb. I'm walking out with you after this episode.
We're all walking out together just like that.
That's fine. But we ain't done. We're back next week.
We're back next week, same time, same programming. Hit us up on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. I think somebody's illegally putting us on LimeWire. Don't download it to your computer, though. Your computer might crash. But listen wherever you have to listen. It's the Locker Room Podcast alongside Jack Sullivan and Sam Pierce. Holla at us.